R-E-A-L-T-O-R-S. Realtors. And you know what rhymes with realtors? A $418 million settlement. In the US of A, baby, there are over 3 million real estate agents. That's a lot of chickens. You see, champ, over the last few years, real estate agents have made a lot of money. You know, because real estate's been booming, and agents make their money from commissions. Oh, you want to sell your house? Well, can I have some of that money too? I can fill in some forms for you, please. Okay, I know successful agents do way more than that. They have a job where they're on call 24/7. They get no weekends or vacations. They have to deal with very difficult people. 80% of their clients just waste their time and don't even buy anything. And their income is solely based on how hard they work. Oh yeah, and they have to spend a whole bunch of time in the hot sun golfing. Blech. When a house is sold, the seller has to pork up some of their juicy equity and pay not only their agent, but also the buyer's agent. But then a few Midwestern sellers were like, I ain't paying that. I have to? Honey, get the lawyer on the phone. I said lawyer. $500 million worth of settlements later, here we are. So who will pay the buyer's agent? What will they do? Where will they go? I made a PowerPoint about how a bunch of realtors are probably gonna lose their jobs in the next few years. Oh yeah, and how homeownership is gonna be much more difficult. Okay, so currently realtors—
Wait!
What?
A realtor and a real estate agent are not the same thing. You've used both those terms. They're not the same thing.
All right, I'll explain the difference. Just don't scream like that. A real estate agent is someone that's licensed by the state to be able to represent the seller or buyer. A realtor is a real estate agent that is also a member of the NRA.
Okay, stop. This idiot meant to say the NAR, not the National Rifle Association. Okay, thanks. Love you. Bye.
Meaning they have like a code of ethics they have to follow. The NRA also controls most of the MLS, or databases where agents can conveniently browse all the different types of dwellings that are for sale. I like that one. In this video, I'm gonna use these terms interchangeably. Most active agents are realtors anyway. So, okay, currently if you sell a house for, let's say, $400,000, which is about the median home price, you, the seller, will pay your agent about 2.5%, or $10,000, which is about the cost of this Toyota propane forklift. Nice. You, the seller, would also pay the buyer's agent that same 2.5%, or $10,000. You are now down 2 forklifts. There's also some closing costs that the seller has to pay, but we're gonna just ignore them for the simplicity of this video. But it would be like 2.5 forklifts, or 2 forklifts and one of them riding mowers with the levers that can spin real good. I like those ones. The main reason for this seller pays for everything model is to make buying a home more affordable. First-time home buyers don't usually have extra V-bucks lying around to cover a bunch of fees. They barely save up enough for the lowest possible down payment that could get them a mortgage. Poor people. Gross. Sellers, on the other hand, are not as emotionally destroyed by these fees because they usually have some equity that they could tap into to gobble them up. This business model has been used for decades and is pretty common with real estate transactions. 2019. A few chum bucket loads of sellers had a slumber party and decided to file a classy little lawsuit for $1.8 billion with the NRA and a few other real estate companies. The lawsuit. It's sort of complicated, but essentially the NRA was in conspiracy.
Jamie, pull up that
Joe,
video.
not that type of conspiracy. To keep commissions high or price fixing, which is illegal, as in don't do that. I mentioned earlier that the NRA controls most of the MLS. Well, they sort of say, we'll give you the beans, but you gotta pay the troll toll. The beans being access to the MLS, and the troll toll being a requirement that the agent be part of the cooperative compensation rule. Allegedly. They were sort of encouraging a market where the buyer agent and the seller agent were getting paid a set commission on every single transaction no matter what. So there was no incentive for the buyer agent to try to fight for the best deal. They were getting paid to close. In other words, it was anti-competitive. Now, important to point out that the buyer's agent commission has always been negotiable. I mean, you could pay as little as $1, but it just became standard practice for the seller to pay the buyer's agent that 2.5 to 3%. It was almost like if the seller told their agent, hey bucko, I'm paying the buyer's agent more than the price of one of them hot, juicy, inflation-resistant Costco hot dogs. Well, then the seller's agent would just be like, sorry, bud, no can do, boo. and just refuse to list a property because they know that would drive away a large percentage of the buyers. Now, this wasn't always the case. Some realtors did operate with integrity and properly represent their buyer and try to get them the best deal, but the former was just encouraged and more common, and the latter was just pushed over. After a fierce battle and millions of dollars in lawyer fees, the NRA finally said, all right, fine, we tap, under 2 conditions. 1, all claims against the NRA and its members get thrown out the window. And 2, cooperative compensation, or the buyer paying for both of the agents, can still be used as an option when buying and selling. It just can't be listed on the MLS. It has to be something agents negotiate on, you know, on the battlegrounds. Before I get into the possible outcomes this settlement could have, I want to gently chuck the fact that housing is not going to get any more affordable. No, lol, the seller's saving money, they're just going to drop the value of the house. Idiot. Home prices are determined by the average selling price of similar homes within a certain distance over the prior 6 months. The home price does not give a lollipop demolishing hoot about who's paying what commissions. Some estimates say that agent compensation could drop by 30%. And since like 20% of the agents are doing 80% of the deals, a good chunk of the new and untalented agents are going to be forced to go on, get out of the industry, driving more business to the successful ones. 30% is a lot though. I don't think it's going to be nearly that crazy, but still I think some agents will lose their jobs because of this little $500 million settlement. So there's really 3 possible outcomes that everyone's been blabbering about. One outcome is that the buyer will have to pay for their agent. Like I mentioned before, home buyers are usually tight on cash, and adding another fee that they have to pay will gently shove a good number of buyers out of the market, resulting in less clients to go around and forcing some agents to lose their jobs. There is some talk of paying agents hourly. Sure, it would motivate agents to try to get the best deal, but it's just unrealistic for this occupation. They're gonna charge crazy frog hourly rates every time they show a property to a potential buyer. Because not only will the rate include the labor for the agent to actually show the property, but it would also have to account all the other operating expenses agents have, like brokerage fees, licensing, MLS access, transportation, and golfing. I mean, networking. Potential buyers are not gonna wanna pay $200 to waddle through a 2-bedroom house because the average buyer goes to like 10 houses. Just pick one. Another outcome is getting rid of the buyer's agent altogether. This one will clearly require less agents, but it's kind of an unlikely outcome. Sure, a few savvy folks that are very well versed in real estate will just not hire an agent and be moderately fine, but for the vast majority of the knuckleheads out there, hiring an agent is a must. I mean, do you think the average schmuck knows everything they have to do to close on a property? Like scheduling viewings, writing offers, getting title insurance, scheduling home inspections, and working with financing. And heck, what about just general knowledge stuff like crime rates, school districts, city permits, home warranties, referrals, and even professionally exchanging how-do-you-dos with the seller's agent? Yeah, maybe a resourceful schmuck does, but an average one? I don't think so, pal. And the third outcome is that nothing really changes. The buyer will still ask the seller to pay for their agent. The settlement still does allow that. There will still be a few instances here and there where the seller will be like, I'm not paying 2.5%. Get out of here. And the buyer will just go, ah yes, I had a feeling you're somewhat of an intellectual. I can't pull a fast one on you, can I? Well, what about 1.99%? I could spot a bad deal from 10 feet away. And that's a fantastic deal. Let's get this thing going. I think this is the most likely outcome. Oh, iBuyers, or otherwise known as the weasels that are making homeownership impossible in America. Zillow, Redfin, Opendoor, and like a dozen others. I don't think they're gonna get affected by this, like, at all. They can just all the fees on their end, or the buyer's side, and be totally fine. In fact, sellers are probably going to see them as a profitable alternative than working with a buyer's agent. They won't have to pay the buyer agent fees. Redfin already does this. They're even undercutting the seller agent fees. Once again, agents will fall. With all that said, will this settlement even make a difference in the home buying and selling process? I don't know. Forcing buyers to pay agent fees will put a lot of critical damage on the buyers and agents. I guess sellers benefit, but then if they're selling their home, they're gonna have to buy a new home, in which case it just like cancels out. iBuyers are definitely gonna benefit from this, but I don't think that's particularly a good thing. Also, VA loans. VA borrowers are not allowed to pay any agent fees. So what are they going to do there? I realize everything I just said would vary if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, but I just didn't really want to get into all that. Okay, that's it. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe. Thank you.
The rat goes like this, like this, like this. You are now a normal rat.